Apple Inc. is one of the most reputable and well-known names in technology. Since 2010, Apple has been one of the top companies in the world at large. They are known for making phenomenal products and are ever evolving and changing the game for computers, phones, information communications, and so much more. Their marketing tactics and hip promotions make them a household and industry favorite. In this assessment, we will be analyzing Apple Inc. and their financial ratios for the years 2017 and 2016. Let's begin.
First, we will analyze Apple's profitability ratio. Profitability ratios are metrics that are used to assess a business's ability to generate earnings relative to its associated expenses. In most cases, having a higher value relative to a competitor's ratio or relative to the same ratio from a previous period is an indicator that the company is doing well.
The profitability ratio that we will analyze is Apple's gross margin percentage. This formula is sales revenue minus cost of goods sold divided by the sales revenue. In 2017, Apple had $229.234 billion worth of sales revenue and $141.048 billion for cost of goods sold. With this equation being used, that's 38.5% for Apple's gross margin percentage in 2017. In 2016, Apple had a sales revenue of $215.639 billion, and their cost of goods sold was $131.376 billion. With this ratio being used, Apple's gross margin percentage was 39.1% in 2016.
Next, we will analyze Apple's resource management ratios. Resource management ratios measure an organization's ability to use its resources to achieve its goal and objectives. It involves setting objectives, analyzing the competitive environment, analyzing the internal organization, evaluating strategies, and ensuring that management rolls out the strategies across the organization. It identifies how organization compares to its competitor and recognizes opportunity and threats facing an organization, whether they come from within or the organization or competitors.
The resource management ratio that we will analyze is Apple's age of inventory. This formula is annual cost of sales divided by 365. In 2017, Apple's annual cost of sales was $141.7 billion divided by 365, which yielded $388,219,178. In 2016, Apple's annual cost of sales was $131.510 billion divided by 365, which yielded $360,301,369.86.
Next, we will analyze Apple's liquidity ratio. Liquidity ratios are used to determine the debtor's ability to pay off current debt obligations without raising external capital. Liquidity ratios measure the company's ability to pay debt obligated and its margin of safety. These are calculated through current ratios, quick ratios, and operating cash flow ratio.
The liquidity ratio that we will analyze is the current ratio. The formula for this is current assets over current liabilities to 1. In 2017, $128.645 billion were Apple's current assets, and their current liabilities were $100.814 billion. So the current ratio was 1.28 to 1. In 2016, Apple's current assets were $106.869 billion, divided by its current liabilities of $79.06 billion. Apple's current ratio was 1.35 to 1.
The next ratio we will analyze is the leverage ratio. Leverage ratio looks at how much capital comes in the form of debt, loans, or assesses the ability of the company to meet its financial obligations. Some companies rely on the mixture of equity and debt to finance their operations. Knowing the amount of debt held by a company is useful in evaluating whether it can pay its debt off when they are due.
The leverage ratio we will analyze is debt to asset ratio. The formula for this is total liabilities divided by the total assets. In 2017, Apple's total liabilities was $241,272 million, divided by its total assets of $375,319 million. So Apple's debt to asset ratio was 64.3% in 2017. In 2016, Apple's total liabilities was $193,437 million, divided by $321,686 million. So Apple's debt to asset ratio was 60.1%.
Lastly is the ROE, or the return on equity. Return on equity, ROE, is the amount of net income returned as a percent of shareholders' equity. Return on equity, also known as return on net worth, RONW, measures a company's profitability by showing how much profit a company generates with the money shareholders have invested.
To find Apple's return on equity, we have used the DuPont method, which is net income divided by sales times sales divided by total assets times total assets divided by shareholder equity, which is essentially net income divided by shareholder equity. In 2017, Apple's return on equity was 36.07%, and in 2016, Apple's return on equity was 35.63%.
Company performance. Regarding Apple's company performance, overall, Apple Inc. is performing well and is making its way to be the top performing company in technology. When looking at the numbers of the organization, the company is experiencing an increase in revenue. Albeit, there is room for financial opportunity.
Regarding financial decisions for the company, in retrospect, after studying these ratios, it is evident that Apple Inc. has some opportunities for improvement. Their goal should be to increase the profit margins and bring in more income in order to help improve the company's return on equity. The ratios are very similar from year 2016 to year 2017. The company could see better results by making adjustments in their investments. Apple Inc. should continue working on finding optimal ways of enhancing their current products, as opposed to creating brand new products, which could potentially cut their cost of debt. Overall, their innovation makes them who they are as a company, and they are on an upward trend. Apple will be around for years to come.